Underneath, the silenced darkness swallowed her without mercy. No dreams, no images, only a suffocating void, thick and heavy, like she was trapped beneath ancient sand layers that had waited centuries just for her arrival. A voice floated inside her mind, not loud, not soft, but inevitable. Memory is the only enemy. Ayla gasped awake. Her lungs burned with desperation, as if she had been drowning in her own body for hours. She wasn't in the camp anymore. Not outside, not inside. A room, small, dim, walls made of concrete and sand-stained metal. She tried to sit up, but restraints held her down. Medical straps, a monitoring cable attached to her wrist. Her head pounded with a cold ache. Where was she? Who moved her here? The door suddenly scraped open. Hale stepped in, eyes bloodshot, expression hollow. "Welcome back," he whispered. "Where am I?" Ayla forced herself upright. "What happened?" "I was outside. I saw." Hale held up his hand. "Don't say it. Not out loud." Ayla looked around. This wasn't the medical tent she worked in. It was deeper underground, hidden, silent. She whispered, "Jamie, did you find her?" Hale's throat tightened. "No." Ayla stared into him, desperate. "You said they took her back." "Back where?" Hale shut off the overhead lamp, plunging the room into a dark crimson glow, emergency lighting only. "They come from beneath the desert," he said. "Tunnels, cavities, ruins older than our maps." Ayla felt her pulse twist. That doesn't make sense. Nothing can move under solid rock. Hale shook his head slowly. "It isn't rock under us." The whisper returns. The underground room suddenly trembled faint, like something huge shifting far below them. Ayla reached for Hale instinctively. "What is that?" He stared at the vibrating cup of water on the desk. "That," he whispered, "is the reason this base exists." Ayla's voice cracked. "What's beneath us?" Hale leaned in, terror trembling in his breath. "Not what, who?" Suddenly, a whisper so sharp it sliced reality. "Hello, Ayla." Not Hale's voice, not anyone's voice in the room. Ayla jerked toward the ceiling. "Oh no, not again." Hale grabbed her wrists. "Don't answer it." But the voice slid like cold metal across her thoughts. "You belong where she went." Ayla's skin turned to ice. "Jamie," the whisper exhaled, "you will remember her." The hidden map Locke burst into the room, eyes wide, face pale. "You heard it again." Ayla nodded, shaking. "It keeps calling me. It knows everything about me. It knows what I don't even remember." Locke slammed his fist against a metal locker. "That's exactly what they want." Ayla stood, fury overriding fear. "Then tell me the truth." Locke stared at her long enough to feel dangerous. "Thousands of years ago," he began slowly, "something lived beneath these sands. Something older than civilizations. We've always believed they were myths until patrols started disappearing, until voices started speaking, until we realized they weren't gone. Ayla went cold. You mean they're alive? Locke stepped closer. They're waking up. Ayla's voice trembled for me. Locke didn't blink. You're the only name they say. Why Ayla? Why me? Ayla demanded. I'm not special. I'm a medic. I've never been here before. I've never heard those voices. Locke cut her off. You don't remember being here. Ayla froze. What? Locke swallowed hard. You were here before. Ayla laughed, broken and terrified. That's impossible. I would remember. Hale shook his head. No, you wouldn't. Not after what they did to you. Ayla staggered back. No, no, you're lying. Locke whispered. They erased you, Morgan. They gave you back. But they always come to reclaim what was theirs. Ayla's chest tightened painfully. What was theirs? The room plunged into sudden darkness. Every light died, even emergency power. And the voice near her ear this time whispered, You were ours first. Ayla screamed, darkness swallowed the sound. Episode 2. Darkness didn't feel like absence anymore. It felt present. Like something with weight, shape, intention. Something that was choosing to surround her rather than simply exist. Ayla reached blindly, her fingers brushing cold metal walls, searching for a seam, a button, anything, while panic throbbed behind her ribs like an injury she couldn't locate. Hale, she whispered. Silence answered. Then, breathing just beside her ear, she froze. Locke, a pause, not Locke, not Hale, not human breath. You shouldn't fight memory. Ayla's voice broke. Who are you? We know who you are. Stop. We knew you before they named you. Ayla's pulse hammered like a fist against her throat. Where is Jamie? What did you do to her? Silence. Then, she is where you left her. Ayla nearly fell backward. Elle left her. I just met her. You met her again. The voice paused, as if smiling in the dark, enjoying the confusion choking her thoughts. You forgot everything. Light snaps back. Emergency power flickered on dim red glow. Locke and Hale both stood absolutely still, as if frozen by something older than fear. Locke swallowed. You heard something. Ayla stared at him, trembling. It said I've been here before. Hale almost collapsed into the nearest chair. That means it recognizes her. Locke turned slowly. We need to get her out of this room. Now. Ayla grabbed Locke's arm. Tell me what's happening to me. Locke didn't look her in the eyes. They woke up a memory you shouldn't have. The forbidden hall. They moved through a narrow corridor carved deep into stone, deeper than any military structure should ever go. Rusted steel doors, archaic symbols, old layers of paint that didn't belong to any modern operation. Ayla whispered, What is this place? Locke didn't stop walking. The part of the base nobody admits exists. Hale added, "We call it the Forgotten Hall." Ayla touched a faded symbol on the wall, something like a handprint, surrounded by radiating lines. "What's this?" Hale answered, "It's what they used to use before radios, communication markings." Ayla frowned. Before radios, these symbols look ancient. Locke paused at a heavy sealed door, pressing his palm to a scanner. "They're not ours." The door slid open with a deep metallic groan, revealing a stairwell descending downward into absolute darkness. Ayla hesitated. "We're going down there." Locke stared into the black stairwell like someone looking into a grave. "This is where your story began." Ayla grabbed the rail. "My story started way before this assignment." Locke didn't argue. He didn't have to. The silence answered for him. Beneath the base, they reached a chamber where sand had seeped through old stone cracks. In the center, a circular platform. Dust-covered, undisturbed, old enough to belong in a museum. Ayla stepped closer. "What is this place?" Locke didn't move. "This is where you disappeared the first time." Ayla turned on him, anger and fear flashing inside her. "What do you mean, first time?" Hale whispered, "You went missing before, just like Jamie." Ayla felt her heartbeat freeze mid-pulse. "That's impossible. I would remember." Locke finally met her eyes. They erased those memories. "Whoever or whatever gave you back." Ayla stumbled away from him, horrified. "Why would they send me back?" Locke whispered, "To finish something." Ayla screamed at him, "Finish what?" He didn't answer, because he no longer needed to. Something stirred beneath the platform, a shift of sand, a deep rumble, a voice rising from under the earth like breath from a forgotten tomb. "We waited for you to return, Ayla." The chamber shook violently. Sand erupted upward, and from beneath the floor, a shape began to rise. Episode 3. Sand enveloped the chamber floor, swirling into spirals, as if obeying some invisible command. Ayla shielded her face, coughing against the grit filling the air. Hale raised his arm to block the storm, while Locke simply stared, frozen, like a man seeing a nightmare he already lived once. The platform trembled violently. A fissure cracked open in the stone beneath it, wide enough to swallow a person whole. Hale grabbed Ayla's shoulder. "We need to go now." But Ayla couldn't move. She couldn't look away. Something down there, moving, slow, deliberate, like it was learning how to exist all over again. A low whisper echoed upward through the chamber. "You recognize us." Ayla shook her head violently. "No, I don't." "You do." The sand storm intensified. The temperature dropped instantly, as if something ancient exhaled cold air after centuries of silence. Locke shouted over the storm, "Back away." "Both of you." Ayla stepped forward instead. Something inside her chest, deep, like a buried instinct, pulled her closer to the platform edge. Her voice trembled. "What do you want from me?" The whisper replied, "Return what was taken." "What was taken?" Ayla screamed. Hale grabbed her arm hard enough to hurt. "We're leaving. Now." Ayla struggled against Hale's grip. "No, I need to know what's down there." The whisper slid across her ears like liquid shadow. "She waits for you." Isla's breath collapsed. Jamie. It was talking about Jamie. The ground calms suddenly silence. The sand froze midair for a moment before falling lifelessly in all directions. The fissure sealed itself like nothing had happened. Hale released her arm and staggered backward. Locke whispered, horrified, "They're testing us. They're testing you." Ayla clenched her fists. "Why me? I didn't do anything." Locke stared at her with trembling certainty. "Not in this life." Back in the upper levels, they returned to the main facility, passing soldiers who acted like nothing unusual occurred. No alarms, no panic, no acknowledgement of what was beneath them. Ayla grabbed Locke by the collar of his uniform. "You tell me everything right now." Locke didn't react. He simply removed her hand gently. "I can't tell you what I don't fully understand." Ayla's voice cracked. "Then tell me what you think you understand." Locke paused, choosing his words like explosives. "Every generation, certain individuals disappear into these sands." "Disappear how?" Ayla pressed. Locke looked toward the desert through a thick pane of dirty glass. "They're taken beneath, sometimes for hours, sometimes for years. And then, sometimes they return." Ayla's breath hitched. Jamie could come back. Locke's answer shattered her hope. Not the same, never the same. Hale's confession later that night. Hale sat across from Ayla, eyes distant, voice quiet enough to sound dangerous. "You want the truth?" "Yes. The first time you vanished, they said you were gone forever." Ayla stared at him, horrified. "What do you mean, first time?" Hale rubbed his temples, haunted. 3 years ago. Same assignment. Same outpost. You vanished for 6 days." Ayla shook her head, tears burning behind disbelief. "That's impossible. I would remember 6 days disappearing." Hale leaned in close. "You were returned unconscious at the fence line. No wounds, no dehydration, no trauma, perfectly fine. And no one told me," Ayla whispered. "They erased those memories before you woke. They made sure you remembered nothing." Ayla covered her mouth, fighting the urge to scream. "Why wouldn't they tell me the truth? Why send me back here if they knew?" Hale interrupted softly. "Because they didn't send you back." Ayla's voice broke. "Then who did?" Hale exhaled in absolute fear. "The same ones trying to reclaim you now." The realization Ayla stood slowly, weakly, like her body suddenly didn't belong to her. She touched her own face, wondering if she'd ever truly known herself at all. Hale, she whispered. What am I? Hale's voice trembled. I don't think you're only human. Ayla closed her eyes, willing the world to make sense. But the darkness behind her eyelids whispered again. You were ours before you were theirs. Her heart shattered against the sound. She wasn't just hunted, she was claimed. Episode 4. Ayla didn't sleep for the next 24 hours. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard whispers crawling inside her mind, tugging at memories she didn't even know existed. She kept seeing flashes, sand, darkness, a woman crying, a voice begging her to return. Jamie's voice. She couldn't understand the words, yet somehow knew the emotions behind them. Fear, desperation, betrayal. Ayla pressed cold water against her face in the small washroom, staring at her reflection, searching for a version of herself she could trust. Who am I? The question felt poisonous. She turned off the light. The mirror caught her reflection for a brief moment, longer than physics allowed, like someone standing behind her image refused to leave. She gasped, spinning around no one. But something had changed inside the mirror. A faint symbol etched into the fog from her breath. A circle, a handprint inside, the same symbol from the forgotten hall. Ayla stumbled backward, breathing too fast. Her reflection seemed to mouth something, even though her lips did not move. Remember. Locke's forbidden file unable to control her trembling hands. Ayla stormed into Locke's private office. He was sitting in a corner, reading a worn leather journal, not a military notebook, but something older, personal. Ayla ripped it from his grip. What is this? Locke stood up abruptly. Give that back. Ayla flipped through pages filled with scribbles, drawings, old dialects, symbols, and journal entries from years before she ever arrived. One entry read, Subject AM disappeared again. Voices stronger underneath. Pattern repeating. Ayla froze. AM, she whispered. Ayla Morgan. She stared at Locke in horror. You were documenting me. Locke exhaled painfully. You don't understand. Stop saying that. She shouted. Stop pretending none of this makes sense. Locke grabbed the journal from her hands. If they discover I wrote this, it won't just be Jamie disappearing. Ayla stared at him, voice shaking. You documented every moment of my life here, but not for me, for them. Locke looked down, shame swallowing his face. They wanted records. They, Ayla repeated. Who are they? Locke whispered. The ones beneath. The ones older than all of us. Hale collapses before either of them could speak again. Hale screamed from the hallway. Ayla bolted outside. He was convulsing on the floor, eyes rolled back, veins dark under his skin like ink spreading inside him. Ayla yelled, Hale, talk to me. Hale gasped, choking on words. They're inside my head. They're pulling. Ayla grabbed his face. Hale, look at me. Who's pulling? Tell me. Hale's voice broke into terrified sobbing. Jamie is calling me. Ayla froze. What? She's underneath, Hale cried. She's underneath, and she's not alone. Ayla's stomach twisted painfully. What do you mean alone? Hale clawed at the ground like someone drowning in air. There are hundreds of them, thousands, all watching, all waiting, he screamed in pure terror. They're waiting for her. Locke injected a sedative to calm him. But Hale grabbed Ayla's wrist before losing consciousness. You're not supposed to remember, Ayla. That's why they took you. That's why they brought you back. Ayla leaned down, trembling. Why? Why bring me back? Hale whispered with his last fading breath. So you would finish what they started. His eyes closed. Ayla shook him. Hale, Hale. But Hale was gone breathing, alive, but gone, trapped somewhere she couldn't reach. Ayla's collapse, Ayla stumbled backward until her back hit the metal wall. She slid down, hugging her knees, breathing in jagged gasps. Everything she believed about herself, every memory, every second of her life, suddenly felt like pieces of someone else's story. She whispered into her shaking palms, "What did they do to me? What am I?" The lights flickered. A shadow crossed the room, not a person, not Hale, not Locke. Something else, something unseen. A whisper brushed against her ear like a memory breathing. "We will show you." Ayla looked up. Darkness swallowed the lights. She screamed. Episode 5, final pitch black darkness swallowed the room. Ayla reached for anything familiar, wall, floor, air. But the darkness wasn't just absence. It had substance, texture, like she was touching a living thing. Her breath trembled out of her chest. Hale, Locke, anyone. Something moved in front of her. Not footsteps, not breathing, but the air shifted like a body passing through it. Ayla felt a cold sensation graze her cheek, like a fingertip made of wind. She flinched, heart slamming against bone. Who's there? The whisper exhaled inside her skull. Memory lives beneath. Suddenly, she wasn't in the room anymore. She was standing in the desert alone, barefoot, moonlight like silver dust, coating endless dunes. The wind carried faint echoes of voices, hundreds, thousands, whispering her name in overlapping layers. Ayla, Ayla, Ayla. She spun in a circle. Nothing but sand stretching into eternity. Then, through shimmering heat distortion, she saw someone. A silhouette, female. Jamie. Ayla ran toward her. Jamie, Jamie, don't move, I'm coming. The figure turned toward her. But as Ayla got closer, her breath stopped. It wasn't Jamie's face anymore. It was Ayla's, her own face staring back empty, hollow, eyes black as bottomless wells. Ayla stumbled backward, horrified. What are you? The figure's mouth opened, voice layered with thousands of whispers. We gave you back your face. Ayla fell to her knees. No, no, this isn't real, this isn't real. The figure leaned forward, whispering like sand sliding through bone. Not memory, restoration. The world dissolved again. She snaps awake. Ayla gasped awake in the infirmary, strapped to a bed, medical sensors attached to her chest. Locke stood over her, eyes wide with fear. You were gone for 6 hours. Ayla shook her head violently. No, I was in the desert. I saw Jamie. I saw, Locke pressed a hand to her shoulder. You weren't anywhere. You collapsed. You stopped breathing. Ayla stared at him. What happened to me before? 3 years ago, what exactly happened? Locke didn't answer right away. He couldn't. Finally, voice low, you were taken beneath. They returned you without a scratch. But you were changed. You were different. And when you woke up, you didn't remember anything. Ayla swallowed hard, and they erased those memories. Locke nodded painfully. It was the only way the higher command could control what came back. Ayla stared at the medical monitor, heartbeat racing like a machine losing control. So what am I? She whispered. Locke looked her in the eyes, voice trembling. You're not just Ayla anymore, he swallowed. You're part of them. Hale wakes. Suddenly, Hale bolted upright in the next bed, gasping like a drowning man. Alia rushed to him. Hale, talk to me. Can you hear me? He stared at her pure terror, but forced out one final message before collapsing again. They want their medic back. Ayla's blood went cold. I am their medic, she whispered. And somewhere beneath them, far below the base, the desert breathed her name. Ayla, Ayla. Lights flickered violently. Locke reached for the radio. Hale is seizing again, get medical backup. A deep rumble shook the walls, dirt falling from ceiling cracks. Ayla turned slowly toward the floor, toward whatever was waking beneath the earth because of her. Her pulse whispered one truth she could not ignore. They weren't hunting Jamie. They were hunting her. And Jamie was just the beginning.